Oh hey, I didn't see you there. I was just here decorating the Christmas tree while I waited for my roommate to finish cooking up some dinner. Which kind of reminds me, hey Alf, how long till that ham's done? Well, seeing that we have some extra time, why not take a look at something pretty festive, like Nick Pics. Alf, don't burn the house down while I'm gone. When it came to Christmas specials, Nickelodeon probably had one of my favorite ones as a kid. I remember tuning in to catch SpongeBob's Christmas every year, and eventually had my parents buy me this, Nick Pics Holiday, a compilation DVD of a bunch of Nicktoons Christmas specials. These Nick Pic DVDs were pretty nice budget ones and were perfect to take on road trips and watch on your portable DVD player. And yeah, kids, there was a time where if you wanted to watch something on the road, you had to buy a portable DVD player, plug it into that car's power outlet, take your Family Dollar DVD case and pop in individual discs. What a time. Anyways, this Nick Pic Holiday DVD is actually a perfect way for me to get my yearly dose of cartoon specials. Instead of having to buy different cartoon series and switch out discs, I can pop this sucker in, press play all, and lay back in the comfort of my bed. I originally planned on only talking about 1 or 2 episodes, but screw it. I'm out on break, I don't have a social life, so why not just talk about everything on this DVD? So get comfortable and let's get into the holiday spirit with Nick Pics. Now, I'm not gonna go in the DVD order because that would be dumb. Like, why would I talk about All Grown Up before Rugrats? Like, why? Let's go ahead and start with the Fairly Odd Parents with the episode Christmas Every Day. Acting as the last episode of the first season, and the first episode to be longer than 10 minutes, this episode has Timmy wish for it to be Christmas every day. But when Santa starts getting worn out and the other holiday icons realize they won't be getting any more attention, they make their way to the North Pole to get rid of Santa Claus. Now Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda have to save Christmas. It's been a good while since I've seen this special, and while I do have a lot of nostalgia for it, I was a little worried going into it that it wasn't going to hold up as well as I remember it. Having just rewatched it, I can happily say that it still holds up. For the most part at least. From a comedic standpoint, most of the jokes really hit. I wasn't laughing out loud the entire 25 minutes, but there were some pretty funny moments. My favorite being the recurring eggnog joke.
We want food! And eggnog!
The story's pretty good, but I had a few issues with it. I like the idea of having it be Christmas every day to showcase how too much of a good thing can lead to negative consequences. There's the scene where the military is trying to take Santa down, and while that's nothing new, I really like the slightly different spin they had to it, with the military having to put cookies out and go to sleep for Santa to show up.
I hope I get a football!
The biggest thing that didn't completely hold up for me was the script. As a kid, you just want to be entertained, and as long as the show can do that, I think it's a success. However, there were a few things that I couldn't help but notice. The second half of the short feels kinda rushed. The writers pulled out the Deus Ex Machina card to help Timmy get to the North Pole. They even acknowledge it, and it was funny in the moment, but afterwards, I wish they found a different way to lead up to that ending. Also, I started really overthinking this Christmas Everyday wish. Like, wouldn't it make more sense for it to be like Groundhog Day, where Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda are the only ones to experience Christmas every day? Because if everyone is experiencing this, can't they just stop it? Like change the calendar back, go back to work, do something more than just celebrating the same holiday every single day. Okay, I may have gone a little too far. But with that said, even though the story isn't the absolute best, this isn't a deal breaker for me. This special completely makes up for it with its humor, likable characters, catchy music, and animation that doesn't just look like a set of keyframes. I'll give this short a nice rubber ducky. Okay, let's get a bit spooky with Danny Phantom and the Fright Before Christmas. In case you never noticed, Danny Phantom was created by the same dude who did Fairly Odd Parents, Butch Hartman. It was about this kid named Danny who can turn into a ghost. And if you need a better explanation, just watch the intro. This super catchy theme will let you know everything you need to know. Which, by the way, is it just me, or are the origin story theme songs always the best? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Brady Bunch, and Freakazoid all had cool intros. Okay, I'm getting a bit off topic. The Fright Before Christmas has Danny being a Scrooge, and in a fit of rage, destroy the ghostwriter's new poem. Angry that his work has been ruined, the ghostwriter, played by Will Arnett, sucks Danny into his new book, which doesn't sound right. Now Danny is stuck in rhyme and the writer's control until he can find the true spirit of Christmas. I think this was my second time watching this episode. Even though I was never obsessed with Danny Phantom as I was with Spongebob, I always enjoyed watching it when it was on TV. I had a pretty good time watching the episode. It has some pretty funny moments, and I can appreciate the entire episode being in rhyme. And is it just me, or was Danny the villain in this episode? I actually felt really bad for the ghostwriter whenever his work was destroyed. And what does Danny do after he's told what he did? He obliterates the remaining paper. I was completely on the ghostwriter's side here, and what happens to him in the end? He goes to jail and is tortured with the unrhymable word, an orange. What a way to go. As a Christmas special, I didn't have any issues with it. It's a completely harmless and fun episode, and that's pretty much all I have to say for this. I'm gonna give the Fright Before Christmas a cute little Einstein bear. While I'm here, might as well go with My Life as a Teenage Robot. A robot of all seasons centers on Jenny trying to cheer up this rich kid named Todd Sweeney, until she finds out that he has some pretty bad intentions. I always considered My Life as a Teenage Robot as one of the more underrated Nickelodeon shows. It has a very interesting concept with some outstanding artwork. This Christmas episode really surprised me. I was expecting to enjoy it and have some fun, but I got more than just that. I really like the idea of Jenny forgetting her memory and then realizing it's been a year since she was conscious, only to find out that she was destroying all the other holidays. It felt darker than most Nickelodeon specials without losing its humor, which was great by the way.
Hey Chuck, did you buy that sled at the sale today? What the heck is wrong?
I actually forgot how funny the show could be. This also had a pretty good message at the end. Most shows go with the basic moral that it's not about the presents, it's about family. And while I think that's great and all, I've seen it so many times. This episode reminds us that while presents are a big part of Christmas, it's the thought of giving someone you love a gift that can bring us joy. While the message wasn't super original, it was executed really nicely. The only nitpick I had was I would have liked to see evil Jenny be more destructive to give the other characters a bigger reason to hate her so much as to hunt her down like they did in the episode. I personally feel that it would have made for a stronger punch and it would have raised the stakes just a bit more, but again, that's just my opinion. A Robot for All Seasons is a great special that really surprised me. I'm going to give it a nice little mistletoe. Alright, now let's go back to one of the classic Nicktoons of the 90s. Rugrats, a show about babies. This is such a simple but wonderfully executed show. It could have easily gotten too annoying or too geared towards kids, but it's very enjoyable for pretty much anyone. I feel like this has a little something for all ages. In this episode titled The Santa Experience, we get to see the families go up to the mountains to celebrate Christmas. Most of the episode centers around Angelica having Santa issues, but we also get to see Tommy and Chucky wanting to trap Santa to prove he's not just a creepy old guy who delivers presents to little kids. What made Rugrats work so well is how you step into the baby's point of view and see the world through their eyes. One thing I liked is how Phil and Lil give each other crayons and a Reptar space helmet. Nowadays, this is what my Christmas list looks like. The show stealer for this episode is easily Angelica's arc. We see her screw over Phil and Lil on purpose, but after she realizes Santa's always watching, she starts to get paranoid that she won't be receiving presents that year. What made this so entertaining for me was to see how much of a spoiled little she can be. Oh, excuse my language. I meant to say mother ass. Seriously, she's probably worse than DW, and I know that's the point, but dang. She also has a potty mouth for some reason, which I do not approve of.
Come on, kids, Mama's taking you to cut down your first Christmas tree. Drat!
I also really like the side story with Tommy and Chucky. It feels so innocent and sweet that I can't help but smile in moments where they mispronounce words or can't stay awake to catch Santa. The Santa Experience is a sweet Christmas special. The only nitpick I have is how some characters explain what's happening rather than letting the audience realize it by themselves. But it's a kid's cartoon, so I just kind of feel like a bully for saying that. Other than that, I had a fun time watching this. The 90s hand-drawn animation is always so awesome to see. This also has a really heartwarming ending that will leave anyone with a soul feeling pretty good inside. I think I'll give this episode a nice Reptar bar. Seeing that we just did Rugrats, might as well follow up with the show's sequel. Season 2 episode, The Finster Who Stole Christmas, we follow Chucky, who's being a Grinch and dreading Christmas due to his forgettable experiences with his family. To try and lighten the holiday spirit, Chucky brings home a new Christmas tree, which he accidentally stole from a family. Once news breaks out that there's a tree thief in town, Chucky is overwhelmed with guilt knowing that he probably ruined another family's Christmas. Like I mentioned earlier, what made Rugrats work so well was that we got to see everything from the eyes of a child. With all grown up, we see everything from the perspectives of, well, preteens. It works, but it doesn't have the same charm as something like Rugrats did. That's not to say this episode didn't work. I think it has a good story with some great moments. I didn't find myself bored, but at the end of the day, this wasn't that memorable for me, and I'm actually struggling to find things to say. I liked the little gag with Chucky's mom and Kimmy just wanting to come home for the holidays, and other than that, I'd say it's an entertaining episode, but nothing super special. I'll give The Finster Who Stole Christmas a nice little tree. Nothing insane, nothing cool, just a nice tree. I'd rather save this one for last, so let's move on to Choc Zone with the episode When Santas Collide. In this episode, we start off with Rudy getting upset with his parents, which leads him to going to the Choc Zone where he accidentally causes some harm to the Santas there. I've gotta be honest, I never watched too many Choc Zone episodes as a kid, and after watching this special, I'm not sure why. This was a lot more fun than I expected. Is it my new favorite Christmas episode? No, but I was surprised I always used to skip this one as a kid. This might be kinda weird to say, but out of all these Nicktoons on the DVD, I feel like Choc Zone was the most animated, if that makes sense. One of my favorite animators online is Harry Partridge, and that's because I never get the sense that every frame is the same. His characters are always so expressive and animated. I can say the same thing with this episode. Now, it's not Ren and Stimpy level, but it's a lot more than some animated shows out there. There's also a really catchy song towards the beginning of the episode that basically combines all the December holidays into one. I thought this was a great idea. Rarely do we get to see other holidays get some love, so I'm glad they were represented here. The comedy in this also worked pretty well. I think the funniest part for me was in the end when Rudy and Penny start singing the holiday song, and the parents are just react like, okay? I do recommend checking this episode out. The story is nothing insane. It's the basic kid stops Christmas and now has to fix the situation, but it's executed pretty well. I'm going to give When Santas Collide a nice pair of circle hands. Note, they're not the other thing you're thinking. These are circle hands. There is one big issue I had with this, and that's the opening song. It's Rudy. Rudy has the chalk. Can't you goddamn mother? We have one more episode to watch, and that's SpongeBob's Christmas Who. So I'm going to cheat a little here and watch the episode for my Season 2 DVDs, simply because this Nitpicks DVD has an ever so slightly edited down version of the episode, which is just foolish in my opinion. Also, Nitpicks quality is pretty bad. I really don't know why, because the Season 2 set are also on DVD, but it looks significantly better. Anyways, Christmas Who is essentially the origin story on how Bikini Bottom found out about the Christmas holiday. When Sandy explains to SpongeBob about Christmas, he becomes obsessed and spreads the holiday cheer all over town. Everyone gets excited about Santa's arrival, except for the one Scrooge in town, Squidward. This episode is without a doubt my favorite of the Nitpicks DVD, and probably out of all the Nicktoon shows I've seen. Even though most of the other episodes are considered specials, they don't necessarily feel that way. It feels like just another episode of the show, except longer. However, with SpongeBob, you get the impression that this is a special episode. It feels like they spent longer working on this, especially with the segments that feature Patchy the Pirate. It can be very easy for this character to be annoying, but Tom Kenny's energy and comedic timing really work well. In the beginning, it feels like this is geared towards little kids, but as soon as this moment happens, it lets the families at home know that this is not just for children, but there will be something for adults.
What's that? 3 bells! Well, we all know what 3 bells means.
Free ice cream!
No, you silly livers. No!
This is one of my favorite moments simply because of how unexpected it was when I first saw it. It's the first time I can remember where the children's show host basically calls out the kids for being stupid. Also, I love this entire part with the censorship.
I am 10 years old, and I was wondering if you like Christmas as much as I do. Sincerely yours.
Name and address withheld.
They could have just added a bleep and added a subtitle to let people know the letter has to be anonymous, but instead, this voice comes up and straight up tells you what's being censored. There's also little moments like when he puts his pirate glasses on or when the puppeteer falls out that are so funny to me. Keep in mind, I haven't even talked about the actual episode yet. There's so many good moments, but I think the one that stands out the most is the very first Christmas song. I don't know why this doesn't get more love than it does. It's one of the most catchy songs in the entire show. Oh, and Mr. Krabs seriously needs his own EP.
This Christmas feels like the very first Christmas to me.
In my opinion, what makes this such a successful Christmas special is seeing just how passionate and hopeful Spongebob is about Santa Claus. He inspires an entire town to believe the word of a Texas squirrel, and when Santa doesn't show up, it truly is heartbreaking. Not only did he disappoint the entire town, his best friend, and a snowman, but he lost hope in believing that something so magical like Santa can exist. It's truly a heartbreaking scene, especially since he was so considerate enough to get Squidward a present without even thinking about how rude this guy was. Which, by the way, this is a great example of an adult joke I didn't get when I was a kid.
I feel like a big jerk.
I found it funny because it was just a random donkey, but this got a whole lot funnier when I was old enough to realize what it meant. There's so many things I can praise about this episode, but my favorite is the overall message. Throughout this entire story, Squidward is so against the idea of Christmas and treats SpongeBob like crap, but once he sees how much of a good heart SpongeBob has, he's determined to try and help him regain his belief in Saint Nick by dressing up as him. Not even the citizens of Bikini Bottom helped SpongeBob out. They just kind of ditched him, left him there crying, but instead we get to see Squidward be the nice guy. And when the citizens of Bikini Bottom find out, they come back excited to see what Santa brought them. This leads to Squidward giving away everything in his house just to make others happy. I truly love how his arc goes full circle in this. It reminds me of how the Grinch figures out the spirit of Christmas. There's this really small piece of dialogue that always stood out to me, and I've always felt summarized what Christmas is.
Thanks, Santa.
That almost felt good.
Even though it wasn't the best gift, it was the best Squidward could give that girl, and he felt some satisfaction of giving someone something they wished for. Being able to see the most negative and depressing character of the show say that, that's pretty good. At the very end, when Squidward is left with nothing, he receives a letter from Santa, then looks up at the sky to see one of the funniest depictions of him I've ever seen. What I never understood is, Santa underwater? Or can Squidward look up above the ocean? I'm not sure, but that laugh, that's a great laugh right there. I know I've been gushing over this episode, but I truly love it. I think SpongeBob is one of the most creative and funniest cartoons ever created, and by that I mean the first 3 seasons of the show. I truly can't think of any issues I have with this episode, and that may be because of my nostalgia for it. If you disagree with me, I'd love to find out why. There might be something I'm just refusing to see. But for now, I'm going to give Christmas Who some slime. Which I always thought was kind of weird. Like, doesn't this look kind of weird to you? I don't know. But that's it for today. If you don't have any of the shows on DVD and want to get into the Christmas mood, I'd recommend getting this Nick Picks Holiday DVD. It's like $1 on Amazon, so it's a pretty good bang for your buck. I just wish they had other Christmas episodes like from Hey Arnold, Invader Zim, Jimmy Neutron, and Drake and Josh. And I know Drake and Josh isn't a cartoon, but come on, it's Drake and Josh. Oh, you hear that? I think that means Alf is done. Well, thank you all for watching, have a happy holidays, be safe, and keep watching the skies. Now, I should probably go check on Alf. Hey, Alf, why does it kind of smell like gasoline? Alf! What are you doing?